Ooh. Welcome everybody. Today we're talking about self-love, healing through loving yourself, loving yourself and choosing you, and healing pain through self-love. It's an ongoing topic. If you're new here, let us know how you heal yourself with self-love, choosing yourself, creating healthy boundaries, and tips that you could give us to heal. Greetings from Dubai. That is Abhishek Daniel. Today we are talking about self-love, things you do to show yourself that you love yourself, how self-love has helped you heal, how self-love has protected you from getting into trouble. Yeah, thank you, love. Hi, EXO. Hi, Sun. Nice to see you again, Sun. Thanks for the likes and the beautiful loves, the beautiful hearts. Love it, love it. You know, here we talk about self-love and healing, self-directed healing. My name is Kanini. Let me know, what do you do to show yourself self-love, to show yourself that you love yourself, to heal from choosing healthy choices for yourself in the midst of peer pressure, in the midst of other people telling you there's a lot of pressure when we as we get older. It's not like just when you are young. A lot of peer pressure comes like when your friends are going out, they want to drink and you don't like drinking, and they want to shame you probably for your healthy choices, for the things that you don't want to do. And because you know those things are not healthy, but you know it's a group thing, they might pressure you. And self-loving yourself is acknowledging your decisions, acknowledging your choices, and sticking by them. And that is self-love, right? So let us know, what are the things that you do to acknowledge that you love yourself and that you matter, that your opinion matters. Because self-love includes boundaries. Yeah, tell us things that show self-love. Abhishek Daniel is saying a person can love and treat his neighbor with dignity only when he loves and values himself. Honestly, I 100% believe that. I always say in this channel, people cannot give what they don't have. You know, people rarely can give, you know, if you don't have something, if you kind of like told me, oh, give me like $10,000 and I didn't have $10,000, I cannot give you that, right? If somebody does not have their own dignity, they don't have values for themselves, they will not be able to treat you with dignity. 100%. Mikhail from Sweden, hello. Hi, Gorkam. Hello, Yogama. Hello, Beauty. Hello, Yogama. Um, yes, yeah, I 100% agree with you, Abhishek. People cannot give you what they don't have. If somebody does not have self-love, self-dignity, self-respect, most likely they're not going to give you that because they don't have it. They don't have something to give. And that's why sometimes you just have to avoid people who don't live a life led by values. You know, they don't have values guiding them in their life. Hello, Smokey 9973. Today we are talking about self-love. We are talking about how you heal through self-love, how you show yourself that you love yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to heal from trauma, from stress, especially from stress, right? Trauma is stress. And stress is the number one killer in the whole planet. And if you've taken my classes or you've heard me talk in the past, you know what I mean about stress. Stress is really what kills human beings. And if you want to learn how to overcome stress, you have to overcome stress with love and self-love, and letting that love guide you into making healthy choices for yourself simply because you exist. I have something valuable to make everyone aware of. Bofinhu. So let us know. A moment of silence for all the women having. I don't know what that is. Anyway, so yeah, it was Valentine's Day this weekend. Happy Valentine's, you know. Happy Valentine's to all of you. Yeah, we are talking about self-love. Tell us how you show yourself that you love yourself, that you value yourself. What is self-love for you? How does self-love look for you? What has self-love done in your life? Maybe you quit smoking because you love yourself, or maybe you quit alcohol because you love yourself, or maybe you started working on your personal goals because you love yourself. Maybe you ended a relationship because you love yourself. Maybe you walked away from a bad situation because you listened to your gut and something inside of you told you you better leave this place, or you better look for something, or maybe you chose to start your own career path because you love yourself. What has self-love done for you? Because self-love is the beginning of healing. Risa says, peace be upon you. Today we are talking about healing through self-love. For me, self-love, to be honest, has come through understanding boundaries and understanding that I need to create safety around my life. And the only way that I can do that, I realized, is through creating safe boundaries. Now, I don't know about you, but when you love yourself, you unequivocally have to create self boundaries, whether it's boundaries on how you exercise your body, boundaries on what you consume in your body, boundaries on the kind of people that you engage with, boundaries on your emotional life, how you will not tolerate other people to talk to you, how you will not tolerate other people to demean you, like things like that. I have had to be like, oh, these are my boundaries. If I make boundaries that I will not be around people who talk to me in a demeaning way or people who talk down upon me. If I make those boundaries, then those people will stop existing in my life experience, because I have decided that they will not exist in my life experience. Because I have decided if they are disrespectful, I'm going to remove myself from that situation. Now, you see, my removing myself removes the disrespect, right? And that is how you create happiness. Christopher is asking, what is happiness for you? Happiness is something you create with the boundaries that you have. Happiness is the way. You don't get to a point in your life and then you realize that you're happy. It's never going to happen. What happens is you create boundaries in your life that safeguard your heart. The Bible actually keeps saying, guard your heart. Like guard your heart, because the Bible wants you to protect your happiness, because your heart is your happiness. When you don't have boundaries, you're not able to guard your happiness. You're not able to guard your heart. And so happiness is that place you find yourself when you create healthy boundaries. That is happiness. When you create healthy boundaries, you will enter into the universe of happiness. When you decide, I will not be around people who talk negatively about me, people who demean me, people who use a harsh tone. When you decide like you're not going to tolerate that, guess what? You cut those people off and you move into a state of peace of mind, because that experience for you no longer exists, right? That's why we say boundaries, they are like enormous when you want to create a happy life. You don't want to have boundaries. You're afraid of creating boundaries. You're a people pleaser. This will be the end of your happiness. So that's why it is at stake. Hello, thanks, Atis Dudley, love to see you. Virginia, Joseph, hello. Christopher Diaz, thank you, God bless you, you're amazing too. Yeah, so I mean, Christopher, do you get like what I meant by what is happiness? Does that make sense to you? Hello, Romeo. Yeah, let me know, give me feedback. Let me know, Christopher, if you feel like what I'm talking actually makes sense. We have to safeguard our happiness. A lot of times we think, oh, if I get that job, if I start my business, if I do this, blah, 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 I will get happiness. And then a lot of people get those things and then they start thinking, why am I not happy? Because you never learned how to guard your heart in the first place. And you don't want to understand, like, happiness has boundaries. There are things you cannot do. There are things you have to choose. Like happiness, if you want to choose happiness, you have to make a boundary that I'm not going to be around people who are negative, people who don't make me laugh. You gotta make that boundary, right? And then you're going to be like, oh, I want to be around people who are nice, who are calm, people who make me, like, you make those boundaries and you put yourself in environments that nourish your happy life. Every day God is with you. Thank you, Terrence. God is with you too. No, I don't need a moderator. Marty, we meet again. Yes. Love to see you guys, especially people who've been here before. We talk about mental health, we talk about healing. A lot of people are coming from families that are toxic, because a lot of trauma begins in your childhood environment, in the family that you grow up in. And you have to look at the family that you grow up in and realize, was this like fertile soil with, you have to think about your family place or your roots as, was this a place where I felt nurtured? Was this a place where I felt like good positive emotions and I was being protected, whether it's materially, whether it's emotionally, like you could talk to your parents, they could understand you, you could connect with your parents or your caregivers, or were they beating you up, denying you food, mistreating you? Then you have to realize, oh, I probably grew up in a very fertile, like nurturing environment, or I did not grow up in a fertile, nurturing environment. What do you do when you know that you did not grow up in a nurturing environment where you are taught to love yourself? You have to bring in that self-love. Yes, I became happy when I followed my passion in life and be around people who actually care for me, spiritual growth. But sometimes old habits die hard and focusing on myself feels selfish sometimes. This is something that I had a client of mine and she felt like she was selfish sometimes because she grew up in a very harsh environment, and so she decided to go look for a good life for herself, and she started living a good life, but her siblings were with the abusive parent that she grew up in, and she would feel guilty that that she was living this good life and they were still living with the abuser. But the mom had the custody of those kids, right? So she couldn't like go and take her siblings, and she felt guilty. So sometimes there is that survivor's guilt that come, but let me tell you, ignore that feeling and continue nurturing yourself. Eventually your mind will get used to this new life. Your mind will get used to the new way of being, because your mind is feeling guilty because it has been mistreated so much. And when good things start happening, it's very mistrusting of the good things that happen. So Christopher, that just continue to treat yourself with love and respect and valuing yourself, to the point that it becomes the new environment, the new normal for your mind, and then mind accepts that and integrates that. Love heals everything. Eventually, the love that you have for yourself will conquer it. You can do meditations, double up on your meditations. Meditation heals, it integrates the nervous system. Remember to do that. You say you became happy when you followed your passions in life. I love that. I'm curious what you started doing, like what are your passions and what you started doing in your life. Being around people, good company. As much as I tell people to cut off the negative people, I want you to also find the right people, the right tribe. We integrate and heal quickly when we get our tribe, the people who love us, the people who nurture us emotionally. I call that the tribe, right? When you get the tribe, healing begins very quickly. So I am so happy, very much so, Christopher, that you found your tribe and you found your passion. And even if you feel sometimes like guilty, like being selfish because of treating yourself, just know it's the mind healing. And when that comes, you have to focus your mind and you tell yourself you deserve love, you deserve to be treated with kindness and respect, and you deserve all the goodness that the universe has to offer. Giving yourself those affirmations, I am worthy of love and all the goodness that the universe has to offer. Those are very good affirmations. Yes, Christopher, you say realizing you get to pick who you want to be, and your past doesn't need to be your future, also made me happy. And that is what we call neuroplasticity, right? The ability for the brain to change itself. Like one time your brain realized, or your mind realized, oh, I can change this situation. And then when you decide to change, like, oh, the past doesn't define me, I can decide to change the kind of people that I want in my life, the kind of friends that I want in my life, the kind of thing that I want to do with my life. And you realizing that, started choosing differently, and your choices, they started changing your brain. And that is what we call neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to change itself. And it happens, and that's why I started this channel, to make people know that you can actually change your life. You can change your brain. You can change your brain. You have the ability to change your brain. uh, you know Thomas Nomasen says, God bless you. God bless you too, Thomas. Mabel Mulenga. um, Amen, amen. Terence, love to see you here. Sugar Spice, hello, hello. Sugar Spice wants to be strong. How do you want to be strong? I love that. I love that you want to be strong. Be specific, because strength is a lot of things. There is physical strength, there is emotional strength, there is intellectual strength, there is financial strength. How do you want to be strong? David Mayfield likes my hair. Thank you, love. Mentally strong. If you want to be mentally strong, please subscribe to this channel. We talk a lot about mental health, and mental health is my superpower. Emotional strength is my superpower. So I am going to show you how to be more resilient, how to be strong emotionally. If you want to be strong emotionally, you have to ask yourself, what kind of emotions do I want to feel? What kind of emotions do I want to feel? I tell people the emotions that you want to feel confident, you want to feel at peace, and you want to feel stable, like you're grounded, you have stability, and you want to feel joy, and you want to feel happiness coming naturally from you. You will not be able to progress emotionally if you don't learn how to meditate. Meditating calms your nervous system. And if you want to be strong emotionally, you have to be calm first. Like, if you want your emotions to be strong, then you have to be calm. Your nervous system has to learn calm. Calm is homeostasis. Remember, our nervous system works in two ways. Whether you're in survival mode or you're in homeostasis and balance. You begin with homeostasis, balance, feeling at peace, feeling at ease. When you feel at ease, then you start having all these other positive emotions. If you don't learn how to meditate, you will not learn how to calm your nervous system. You will not learn how to integrate your emotions. You will not learn all this. The best teachers for emotional intelligence are like the Buddhists. Buddhism, because it teaches meditation, sitting with yourself, because you are the one that needs integrating. You're the one who needs healing. So I would say first, you start with meditation. Now, you have to look at your diet too. If you want emotional stability, you can be taking sugar and fast food diet and all these things that kick you out of balance, and then wonder why, right? You have to work out. You have to put yourself in environments where people are nurturing your emotions. Like, it is a practice. Emotional stability, you train your mind to be emotionally strong. It is something that you have to work hard for, just the same way like you work hard to learn how to read, how to write, how to use your phone. Emotional strength and stability is things that you must do. Your body doesn't just heal itself. You have to know, I am doing this. I tell people to think about a tree, right? I tell you, think about two trees. The tree has the environment where the roots are, it has the trunk, and then it has the top of the tree. So the environment the environment, the where the roots are, it has to have good nutrition, it has to have water, it has to have fertile nutrients, it has to have, you know, worms that make air possible, so for the roots to absorb all these new things, right? So there is that. And then we have the trunk of the tree, which is, if the tree is not is in a bad environment, the trunk of the tree becomes very weak, right? Very weak. The bugs will eat it up, the winds will come, it will break. And that is your emotional strength and emotional stamina. If you're in an environment that is chaotic, people are screaming at you, people demean you, people talk to you, they call you names, people are fighting, there's a lot of chaos, your emotional stability will not be strong. Okay, sugar, spice, I hope we are following. So you want to make sure that your environment is not chaotic. When you come into your home, you want to clean up your home, you want to arrange things in your environment, you know, you want to create an environment that is peaceful. You want to meditate also, so that you can create a calm internal environment, so that the trunk of the tree, your emotional stamina is good. Now the top of the tree, where we have the leaves, the branches, the fruits, these are your actions and your thoughts, you know, and your habits. When you have good emotional stability, you think positive thoughts, you take positive actions, and you become a strong, steady person, and you're going to make decisions in the long term that are going to help you financially, that are going to help you with your emotional health, that are going to help you lead a more stable life. So I think, are we, sugar? I hope we are following each other with this whole thing of becoming emotionally strong. Like, these are the things that you can do. Let me know, give me feedback. Let me know how you're receiving what we are saying. Christopher is saying, everything is hard. Just to go to take the first step is going in the sun or taking time to meditate. Exactly. Remember, you know, you gotta learn a lot of things, like even going into the sun and getting some sun, getting that vitamin D is important, right? A lot of people get depressed because they're not getting vitamin D. Understanding that is like understanding things, the nuances in mental health is very important for you to start leading a life that is mentally health. Now, what do? You join groups like post-traumatic bliss or other groups that talk about mental health and healing, and you start learning, you start reading more books, and you start practicing, and you're just going to take those steps, and you just keep going, moving slowly, you know. Eventually you will find over time you stopped smoking, you stopped vaping, you stopped drinking alcohol, you stopped going out with friends who are rowdy. You know, you will see that you will start making those small choices over and over, and then you will start understanding, like, oh, I love this, I love how I'm feeling, I love how peaceful my life has become. And you will start feeling those fruits, you know, those fruits, the top of the tree, right? You will start feeling those benefits, and then you'll be like, okay, I want to repeat this, this is working. And you'll start figuring things that work for you. But you gotta know, there are things that work for some people, there are things that don't work for some people. Past trauma destroyed my peace, but I'm working to see things in a different perspective. Yeah. So past trauma, even me, I have had past trauma, and I never shy about talking about my past trauma. I lost my parents when I was very young, and I grew up in a very chaotic environment. Um, and I didn't have any connection, you know, like, you know how kids have connection with their mom or their father, they can talk to them. I didn't have somebody to relate with that. So my emotional stability was, I could feel there was something wrong, like something wasn't adding up, like there was no integration. And these are things that, for me, I became emotionally numb. And a lot of people going through depression, through stress and a lot of things, they become numb. Now, what happened for me is magic mushrooms actually helped me like break through that numbness. Psychedelics helped me. Now I know people who have said that they have used psychedelics and they went into a psychosis. So some things can work for some people and some things don't work for some people. And this is why you kind of have to be very careful. There are people who take these antidepressants and they say, oh, this one is working for me. When my doctor gave me some sleeping pills, I started having nightmares, like these bad dreams. And I couldn't take the medication because that was not working for me. Like the nightmare, like I was like, I don't want to like be asleep in a nightmare, and I've taken a sleeping pill and there's nothing I can do. I will stay in that nightmare until this drug wears off out of my system, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I was in a total nightmare for hours when I was sleeping, So for me, like those ones did not work out. There are people who've taken marijuana, like weed, and they went into psychosis. Their heart was beating too fast. They had to go to the doctor, stuff like that. That's why I say, like when you're learning mental health, there are things that will work for you and there are things that will not work for you. Now, a lot of people like me will tell you lifestyle decisions that you can actually take that don't include medication that can actually help you heal. Have you ever met someone with PTSD? Yes. I have met someone with PTSD, and it was very difficult for her because I was trying to tell her like the state of homeostasis, explaining her like the body is in homeostasis or in survival mode. And for her, she has gone through childhood trauma, extreme childhood trauma from when she was very little. So her brain never knew how it feels to be safe. When I met her, she had tried to commit suicide like 2 weeks ago. And I was trying to tell her the state of homeostasis, and she did not even know what that feels like. She did not have an idea of that what feels like. She was overweight. She had not healed. She was in so much pain emotionally. She had attempted suicide. Something had triggered her. I don't know what had triggered her. So yeah. No, the psychedelics, actually, if you read any journal of psychiatry medication, psychedelics actually work better than, let's say, SSRIs. Whatever SSRIs that are being prescribed in the medical field, those are the ones that you should actually be afraid of, because those drugs actually do not work. Those SSRIs, like those things that they give you in the medical field, those don't work, right? You can microdose and it can help you 100%. It can help you. Microdosing, actually, if there's something that I know works for me, is microdosing. Now, I am warning you because I'm not saying it can work for everybody. There is, maybe 1% or 2% people who can go into psychosis because of it. And that's why I'm saying it's not for everybody. Christopher said you microdose. Microdosing is actually a better option because you're doing a small dose, right? And you're doing a very small dose. And the body can actually probably synthesize it. And when you do a small dose, you can easily tell, okay, this is for me or this is not for me. Like one of my friends, he smoked weed, right? And he did like 2 puffs, he did 2 puffs, right? And he knew immediately, like, this is not for him, because he felt the heartbeat was, his heart was beating so fast. And the way he just felt with this thing right? As most of you will probably just smoke weed and nothing will happen. But for him, it was very, very serious that, you know, I was shocked, right? And he was like, okay, it's not for you. You cannot do this thing. And the same way, I would say psychedelics can help some people with healing. Maybe it can help like 99% of the people, but you don't know if you are that 1% that it may not work for, right? So yeah, it works. It works. Yeah, you're not going to go get somebody. I would rather you try mushrooms than go to get prescribed some antidepressant medication that you don't know, like big pharma created. I don't know, and it's probably not gonna work. And those medications that psychiatrists prescribe most of the time, you find that most people, they get prescribed that medication, they use it, maybe it works for a short while, then it stops working, and then they try to get off that medication, and then they have all these suicidal thoughts, they have these bad thoughts, they feel like their body is on fire. Now they have to figure out how to get off the side effects of the medication that they were given that has now messed them up. Now, if you're going to take things like to microdose on things like psychedelics, make sure you're not on other stuff. Like, make sure you're not on alcohol, make sure you're not on marijuana, make sure you're not doing other antidepressants on the side. Like, you're messing up. Like, they're powerful, you know. These are powerful things, you know. They can potentially heal you, but if you're like mixing things with alcohol, with other things, they can f you up like badly. You gotta know like what you're doing with this type of stuff, you know. But the reason I talk about it is because research shows that it works, but nobody is talking about it. And the most likely thing that most people do is, oh, I'm depressed. They go to the doctor, and the doctor will put them on antidepressants that are going to mess them up. And then some people die out of these things. Exactly, you use it, you don't abuse it. Like, you're using it to heal, you're not using it for pleasure and you know, just for the sake of getting into a like to hallucinate or something like that, right? Like, there are people that it works for, and there are people who it doesn't work for. And that's why a lot of people, they do the microdose, and they don't do it every day. They will do like, oh, a small dose when they feel like they're getting depressed. They will do a small dose, and then their mood will lift up, and then they will go on for maybe 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever length of time it goes, and then they just feel like, oh, I don't want to do things anymore. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to clean. I don't want to eat. And then they do another small dose, right? You know, and the thing that I like about psychedelics is like, they are not like candy. You know, it's not something that you really want to take. Like, okay, a lot of people get addicted to weed because it has like that thing, like that high, or alcohol that gets the high. Like, when you know, real medicine actually makes you sick. Like you know, like psychedelics, they don't give you like a good feeling. You're not doing it because you want to get high. You actually don't feel good for like, you know, like 30 minutes, right? So it doesn't make you addicted because it doesn't taste good, and it doesn't make you feel good immediately. It's not like sugar. Sugar tastes good. Sugar makes you feel good immediately. And that is why sugar is the best poison to have. Yeah, it's not an addictive substance. Sugar is poison, and that is why it's everywhere in your market, everywhere. It's bad for our system because sugar tastes good, right? They put it in everything. That it's easy to poison somebody. It's easy to get somebody addicted and hooked to sugar. Something like psychedelics, you're not gonna get addicted because that shit tastes bad and completely. And you kind of have to lace it with something just to get it into your system. That's not something that your system will naturally get addicted to, because if you understand addiction, we get addicted to things that are pleasurable. We don't get addicted to things that taste bad or smell bad. Like, you kind of know, like, good medicine usually does not taste good. Like, if you, some roots, a lot of roots have medicinal purposes. Like, some roots have medicinal purposes. Those roots are bitter. Like, most roots that are medicinal, they taste like shit. Like, they don't taste good at all. And you cannot get addicted to them because they're not meant for you to get addicted. They are meant to heal, not for you to get addicted. Uh, Obviously, yes, obviously, mushrooms are banned. I know mushrooms are banned in some states. So you can go to Europe, you can go to Mexico. Like, there are places that they are not banned. I'm not saying go commit a crime and get locked up, right? I am just here to give you information on what works, and you can decide how to go about it. Knowledge is power. For me, giving you information is not a crime. Okay? We have the right to talk about things. We have the right to talk about knowledge. So I am not telling you where to go find shit. I'm just telling you shit that works and shit that doesn't work, right? So you can, if you really want to heal, you can find your own healing. You can find, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. This is social media. Passing on information is free. Okay? A lot of people talk about these things. Go to Joe Rogan or whatever. They will people are talking about these things. So if you don't want to hear about this, don't come to my channel. Go where you want to hear your own curated version of the truth. But I'm here to give people information, okay? I'm not here to sugarcoat it, to be politically correct. I'm not going to go to the state's database and give them, like, whatever. I'm giving you straight up knowledge, what works, what doesn't work. Exactly, and exactly what Christopher is saying. If you can't access mushrooms, use tools that you are accessible to. See a professional. See if it's a serious problem. If you're really, really seriously ill and you think, like, this is not something I want to handle myself, then go see a psychiatrist. They'll put you on those benzos, and good luck with those things, right? But I hope that you do your own research first on those benzos and those antidepressants and what you're likely to face in the future before you get on that journey. But clearly you trust the system, then go use the system and see how that works for you. you know this here we are talking here, for me, I'm talking about from self healing and experiences that I have done, the choices that I have made to heal myself. Like, for me, one of the things I always say is understanding people and the energy that they bring around you. Some people come to your life to hold you back. Some people come into your life to make you feel insecure about yourself. Some people come into your life to bring harm, and removing yourself from such situation can easily heal you. You're probably not depressed because of anything you're doing. It's just the environment that you're in is destabilizing your emotional health, and then the emotional health is being destabilized by by the people that you're around. Sometimes it's just that, and removing yourself can heal you, right? sometimes the things that is destabilizing us is not really something that we did, right? It's the environment that we find ourselves in. So that is kind of, you need to know what it is. For me, I knew I needed psychedelics because I was feeling numb. I was feeling numb inside. Like I could not feel emotions. It's like there was something blocked and I could not do it, right? And I had gone to the doctor, and they had given me these antidepressants and everything, and I was having terrible dreams. And then I knew that these ones were not working, right? So I could not use that because I knew those would not help me. And so I had to find alternatives, right? I kind of just had to find what else, because I feel like my mind is blocked. I feel my heart is blocked. I couldn't like figure out this, right? Now, for me, psychedelics was like something that started the pot of where it was broken. It kind of started that emotion and released it. And I was able to release. I was able to cry because I was not able to cry. I was that traumatized that tears were not coming. Like I had been through so much that I had stopped crying completely. This is the height of PTSD. I was not crying. Like there was a blockage. There was a blockage. I could feel things, like I could feel empathy, but I could not cry. It wasn't coming out. It just was, there was a serious blockage. Um, uh, so, and I know sometimes weed can help other people. The problem I have with weed though is, okay, because I used to smoke weed sometime, and I don't smoke anymore. First of all, smoking weed can cause lung cancer. Like it is like smoking weed can cause lung cancer, and weed can be very addictive. I think at some point I was a little bit addicted to weed, I could say. I mean, I had to taper off of it. Like I had to get myself out of smoking weed slowly. First of all, because like any drug though, I'm going to say, whether you're taking psychedelics, whether you're taking weed, whether you're taking antidepressants, those drugs are not going to teach you about mental health. Those drugs are not going to help you change your behavior. Those drugs are not going to give you the knowledge that you need to take control of your mental health. So okay, there was that limitation when I was taking weed. But then for me, it became like there was a dependency to it. But then after that, I was still taking it and there was no improvement in my mood. It kind of like reverted back to the same old mood that I had. So now the more you smoke, the less impact that you feel. You don't get the high, it's just like you have a dependency. Now you have to smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke. And then I realized, wait, if I'm having to smoke more than 5 times a day, every day, I was like, this is not improving my mental health. Like this is kind of ruining my mental health. And so I had to get off of it. And what made me actually want to get off of it is because I was starting to develop a cough. Like I was coughing. When I was smoking weed, I started developing a cough. And lung cancer can start that way. And I was afraid of getting lung cancer. And that persistent cough kept reminding me that, oh my God, you might get all that tar, the dark, because you can see, like especially if you smoke and you use a pipe, whether you're using cigarette, you can see the tar, the dark tar. And I could see that tar, and I was like, that tar is getting into my lungs. A lot of like smokers' lungs, they are like black. And I did not want that to happen. I know weed is legal in Jamaica, for sure, right? Sanzu says you have trauma. Tell us more about the kind of trauma you're experiencing. Hello, Tommy Smith from the UK. I don't need a moderator. Yeah, smoking is not good. So eventually I had to get off that weed wagon. And I'm so glad that I was, smoking is very addictive. Just the behavior of smoking is very addictive because it makes you feel safe. Like, oh, I'm feeling anxiety, let me smoke, right? So that's the reason it gets addictive. I had to taper. I went like 1 day without smoking, then 2 days without smoking. You know, you kind of like, you do 1 day without smoking, then you smoke again for 3 days, then you're like, oh my God, I need to stop again. You do it for another 2 days. And I kind of started like, I went 1 week, maybe I fell off again, and then I went another 2 weeks, I fell off again, then I did another 3 weeks, I fell off again, and then eventually I did a month, 2 months. When right now I don't have a dependency. Even if I went and smoked today, I would not have a dependency like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do this again and again and again. Uh, so, um, I mean, you don't have to subscribe to my channel. Actually, let me remove you, Art. Goodbye. Um, so, go away. So anyway, Jay Brennan says, I'm off it for 2 years. Thank God. Right? Yeah. Thank God. It can really help. Like when you feel like, oh my God, I have conquered this one addiction, it really helps you feel like, oh my God, I am so strong. I can get off that. Like, and I feel like when we are growing up, we go through life stages. Like when you're a young adult, especially if you, like for me, when I was a very young adult and coming from a family where I didn't have parents, I didn't have any emotional support, and then I have to, on top of deal with life, being a young adult, and without somebody to talk to connect with, like nobody's, not some, there was nobody that I had formed a deep emotional connection with, you know. So it makes sense that you will start smoking something to regulate yourself because you haven't learned enough about mental health to actually take control of your mental health. And you might blame yourself, like, why am I not, why am I not like making life, why am I not at par with other people who've probably had parents, who had people to guide them through life? I had like all those insecurities because I didn't know about relationships. I didn't know about finances. Remember, you grow up without parents, you actually probably don't know much about a lot of things, and you become insecure. Never mind, I still was very well educated. I went to school. I was doing very well in school, but I didn't know much about other things in life. I couldn't cook. I couldn't, like, there are so many things that I just couldn't do. And I knew like those things were holding me behind and they were making me insecure, and I didn't have the knowledge to deal with it. So on top of that part of my life not being integrated emotionally, also I didn't have somebody I could connect and talk to. So you feel all sorts of anxieties, you feel all sorts of depression. You don't know whether it's going to last forever. You don't know whether it's going to take a lifetime to get off it. Some people get into drugs and they're not able to get out of those drugs. Eventually they get addicted to things. They probably die from self-harming. I am so thankful that I am still alive. even if I know that I am still a young adult, I'll still get, I'll still have to deal with life, right? You still have to deal with bills, you still have to deal with, people and stuff like that. You still have to deal with all those sort of anxieties. But I have educated myself in mental health to kind of learn how to deal with these things in a significant way. But the one problem that I had faced for me so much was the emotional numbness. And I don't know how to explain that. Now, I did do NLP. I tell people I did neuro-linguistic programming, where you kind of also process your trauma. This is very non-invasive, and actually, I have a list of things that I say usually work. NLP is the top, like top. You get a good NLP practitioner, they will teach you, they will help you process the trauma very quickly. NLP works 100%. I still do therapy, I don't have a lot of people I can talk to. So for me, the best way that I cope is I have a therapist that I see, that I talk to, right? And that helps. I'll tell them what's going on in my life. If I'm dating somebody, if I have a breakup, if I'm looking for work, actually somebody who understands what I'm going through. And it's just nice to talk to somebody professional for me, because I am not very good at making friends. I haven't, from when I was a kid, I wasn't good at making friends. As an adult, that hasn't changed that much, but talking to somebody professional who's not going to talk about my life to everybody, just like on a professional level, that has helped. Psychedelics for me helped me 100%. And then, working out and eating good diet. I took sugar off of my diet. I took bread off of my diet, alcohol off of my diet. And I'm not saying like, oh my God, I never take bread, sometimes here and there, or I wouldn't take a glass of wine, but they are not things that are in my diet. These are not things that I'm not going to drink like 4 glasses of wine in a week, like probably I'll probably take a glass in 6 months or whatever, 3 months, like stuff like that, but that for for the most part, alcohol is not in my diet. um uh so yeah, so like you kind of understand like the basics of mental health, I guess. That's, and then you build your base from there. Healing your mental health, give yourself time. Don't think that you're going to overcome trauma in 3 months or 6 months. Okay, some things can take years to overcome. Like, for example, like when my brother died, I didn't have a way to process the grief, right? That grief went with me for more than 10 years, because I didn't know how to deal with it, and it stayed with me for more than 10 years. So you can see something like grief can really stay with you. So that part of my nervous system had not healed. The sadness, the pain, like that emotion was still there. It could not be processed until I learned the proper tools to heal it. And I used NLP for the most part to help me heal the grief of that. I had a lot of, when I lost my parents, I was very young, right? And when you're young and you lose your parents, you don't know what grief is. You don't know that you need to heal from that grief. You haven't processed those emotions, and the lack of the emotions and other things that you did not get from your parents also affects you. And that is something that a lot of people who are talking about trauma, they don't really talk about. For example, why I talk about self-love a lot is because I did not get the love and support I needed from my parents because they were absent. And that is traumatizing when you don't feel loved and you don't feel somebody connecting with you. That causes trauma. And ways that I have healed that is to love myself, right? And other things that I had to use NLP, especially regarding the death of my mom, because I witnessed some of it that I had to heal from. Now, let's go to your comments. James says, my wife betrayed me and I'm not getting over this till now. How long did it take for you to get over your wife betraying you? You know, betrayal is something, and I've experienced betrayal from a family member. The thing with betrayal, you never see it coming. You never see it coming, and you never see it coming from the person that has betrayed you. Because this is not the, you know, when somebody betrays you, first you're not expecting that this is the person that's going to betray you. You know, at least Jesus knew Judas was going to betray him. When it happens in real life, you don't know this person is going to betray you. So the shock of, I thought you were my friend and you don't love me, you don't care about me, you are just somebody I didn't know. And that makes you feel like, what is wrong with me that I cannot trust the right person? Like, what is wrong with me that I could not see through this person? Am I so bad at reading people? But the thing is, for me, when I realized like my family members that betrayed me, they were always that selfish. I just didn't see it. I just didn't see it, and that I loved them and they did not love me back. They were just jealous of me. And even if I was struggling, just like everybody else, just like them, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is bad when you realize that, did this person just change their mind? Did they just fall in love with somebody else? Or was I not that important to them? You know, betrayal is something that you have to watch out so you don't get bitter. I think the best way that I'd say, when somebody betrays you, you want to protect your heart. Protect your heart from getting bitter and going into that place where you hate everybody, or you're always super sad. You know, like, choose your happiness. Choose your happiness. You know, if you're not able to get custody of your child, then choose another life that's going to make you happy. Because a lot of people, they want you to get destroyed by the betrayal. They want to destroy you, basically. And you cannot let the enemy win over your life. You always choose happiness over your life. James, betrayal that's a bitch of an emotion when somebody betrays you. Because I've been through it. I haven't been through it like the level that you have been, you know, especially when a child is in the picture. Never been that deep, so I know that, you know, at some point you know, you probably are bitter, you're probably frustrated, and those are good emotions to feel, but don't let them control you. Don't let it control you. I would say talk to a therapist. Talking helps, you know, talking helps. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm reading your comments. I like connecting. I'd say talk to somebody, talk to a therapist, get a spiritual rhythm going on in your life. You want to train your mind not to fall into anger, into bitterness, into, you know, being constantly frustrated. You want to train your mind, as hard as it is, you want to train your mind to learn forgiveness, right? And letting go. And the only way you learn these things is when you make it a spiritual practice and you practice it. These are not like normal things for normal people, for a heart that's not well trained, because the emotions that are going to destroy you are going to be anger, bitterness, fear, shame, guilt. These emotions are the ones that are going to destroy you. Feeling anger, betrayed, all that frustration, those are going to destroy you. And the emotions that are going to help you is forgiveness, letting go, feeling joy, feeling peace, feeling one with the universe, feeling that everything is going to be okay at the end of the day. That is why those emotions are the ones that are going to help you find a place of peace in your life. And that is what you want. You want to feel peace. You want to feel joy. If it's something that you cannot really go back and correct and do things about it, you want to move happily on, right? So having a spiritual practice will help you bring in the emotions that are eventually going to heal you. And you have to make it a practice. Meditating, praying. I always say, take on things like singing, working out, and having good friends. Take on those positive things and make them a lot in your life, right? So, and you will find that, you have friends that make you laugh. You have friends that you go hiking with. You have places you go dancing. Maybe you've taken up singing. All these things, especially singing, I always say singing creates a lot of more neural pathways. That's going to help you. Everyone, please, let's subscribe for this beautiful, gorgeous young lady. Yes. If you love mental health, if you like support, this is the place to come. This is the place to come. So happiness is something you create, right? Life will give you a bunch of lemons, a bunch of things, and then you're going to decide what experience you're going to create with whatever life dumps at you, right? You're the one who is going to decide, how am I going to process this experience? And you can decide, this experience is going to defeat me, and this experience is not going to defeat me. Actually, when I went through the betrayal, I did use some psychedelic therapy, because the emotions were just too much. I wanted to cry. I wanted to feel bitter. I wanted to be angry. There was a lot of things that I was not able to process. And for me, psychedelics helped me cry and get those emotions out of the way. It really helped me process. Now, I always say, I'm not going to tell you to go do psychedelics, because I don't know how your system can respond to them. But my system responded well to them, and it helped me process some things. If you don't know, talk to your doctor. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, okay? I'm not a doctor. But I always say what worked for me. Like when I was going through betrayal, I think, I did microdose, and it helped me. It helped me cry and get off those emotions out of my system. I always say, don't take my advice for what it is. Go do your own research, because by the time I started doing those microdosing, I had done my research. I had done my homework. I had known that I'm using something that can potentially change my mind. So it is, it has potential to change your mind, but do research, know exactly. Start with How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. That's a book, How to Change Your Mind. It's actually on my shelf. Let me get it. So this is one of the books that I read when I was learning about my psychedelics. called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. Nice book. You can start there, and then you can start looking at other books in that genre. You can subscribe to journals of psychology or brain studies that you can learn things about mental health. Just know, like, a lot of people, when they're using psychedelics, they don't use big doses. They use they call it microdosing. They use very small doses because these drugs, the psilocybin can induce psychosis on some people. So you don't want to get a high dose and then get stuck in an experience for 7-8 hours. That's why people do small doses. Is that true? You get what you give. Does that also work in relationship? I don't think so. No, I said you can't give what you don't have. And that happens in relationships and everyone. If somebody is not kind, they don't have kindness in their heart, they're not gonna teach you with kindness. If somebody is not happy about their life, they're not going to bring happiness into your life. They're going to bring chaos into your life. But you can give however much you want to give to people, but if they don't have something to give you back in return, they cannot give you what they don't have. Jadeda, love you too. Well, that book just tells you a lot of types of psychedelics and his experiences with them. And it kind of tells you like the history of psychedelics. It tells you like the do's and don'ts when it comes to psychedelics and how they can change your mind and how other people have experienced the healing power of psychedelics. Yeah, talking about psychedelics, sharing information, like all that is not a crime. We have the freedom of speech. You can talk and talk whatever you want. Whatever you decide to do after that, it's up to you. But I feel that you cannot remove psychedelics from the conversation of mental health. And to do that is to do a disservice to people. We all need information. Whatever we do with that information, people have weapons. People have access to a gun. Do they choose to kill a bunch of people with that? No, right? I know that's how I see it, personally. I don't know. I don't think, I don't think people, for me, I have never understood women who like the bad boy person, but I just think it might happen because of a dynamic. Let's say, for example, you have controlling parents. You're a woman and you have controlling parents. And then you find, let's say there's a boy down the street who has, who comes from a chaotic parents. They use drugs, they call him names. He's probably coming from a bad environment, right? And he's rebellious with his parents. He seems confident, right? But he's able to talk to people in authority, tell them they're not shit, whatever. This good girl from a good family where she's being restricted because most good families, if they have daughters, they are going to restrict her movement because they know the outside world is not good for women, right? They'll try to protect her. But if she thinks like they're being too protective, she's going to be attracted to the bad boy because he seems rebellious and free. So it's really the dynamic. It's not like she loves that person. She likes the dynamic because she feels more like he's more confident. But eventually it backfires when she realizes he's probably immature. He doesn't like to take responsibility, and he's not good for her eventually. Like eventually she realizes like, oh, this is not person I can trust. This is somebody I cannot do this, right? But it's the dynamic. She's coming from a controlling family who's telling her to marry this one type of a guy that's good and nice, and it just feels like, you're choking the life out of me. Like, why should I have to marry somebody? So she kind of will be attracted to that rude, rebellious bad boy who seems like he is confident, but this is just somebody who is insecure, who doesn't understand life. It's the dynamic. It's not like they're attracted to that. They are attracted to that false sense of confidence. Remember, women are attracted to confident men and men with power, because women are always looking for security and safety and somebody to provide for them. So when they see that, if you're not an experienced woman and you see that false sense of confidence, you're going to believe that that's the right kind of confidence. You're not going to realize it's actually fake, right? And you can lose a good man who's actually treating you well, respecting you, providing for you, and go for the wrong kind. But that just means that the woman doesn't have wisdom. She is lacking in wisdom. She is following her instincts, but her instincts have not been well educated about what looks fake and what looks real, right? If she's looking for the bad boy. Now, I'm just saying that if she's just looking for the bad boy, I'm not discounting the fact that I don't know your relationship. I don't know the dynamics you have. I don't know if you had some bad habits that she didn't like, you know, like I'm just being narrow why women look for bad boys. I personally have never been interested in bad boys because, I'm like those goody women. And I always knew that they were chaotic, and I read through it. Like I could see through it. I was like, I cannot deal with it. Some people don't have that foresight. Unfortunately, some women are just impressionable. It's just the way it goes. Treating people like a queen is not a mistake. That is how you're supposed to treat your woman. That is not a mistake. You just poured your energy into the wrong person. You just poured your energy into the wrong person. A lot of men, they will look for women just because they are attractive physically, and then they will try to change that woman into being housewife material, into being a woman that they can keep, but again, you live and learn. Life is not a place where, oh, I did this, I did that. The thing is like, oh, I live and learn. Like now, how do I pick a good partner for myself? What are the things am I going to look at so that I can look for a partner that wants a lasting relationship? Are there things that I need to change about myself so that, like, that affected my last relationship? If there are things that you need to change, maybe you had Maybe you had a bad attitude. Maybe you are controlling her. Maybe whatever. Are there things that you can change? I'm not saying that these things happened. I don't know your relationship. I'm just saying, like, the only thing that you can do in life is to learn and do better next time. Because remember, you only been on this planet once. You didn't, this is not like a second time you're in life doing another thing, right? And you have to give yourself room to make mistakes. Like, whoops, you made a bad mistake, you chose the wrong partner, or things did not work out. What did you learn from it? What are you going to learn? How are you going to heal so that you don't take the pain into the next relationship? What are you going to do better? Are you going to choose? The number one mistake people do in relationship is you choose the wrong partner. You chose the wrong partner. Yeah, because you probably did not understand your attachment style, and they did not understand their attachment style. Maybe you did not know the love language, and you did not speak her love language. And this is one thing I learned about Gary Chapman, The 5 Languages of Love. He said that you may be treating somebody nicely, like you're buying them gifts and flowers and you're doing these things, but they don't want those things. Maybe their love language is they just like you to sit down there and talk to them. And if you don't sit down and talk to them, no matter how much gifts you bring them, they may not understand that they will not feel loved. And it took me a while to understand, like, oh, love is also the language that other person understands. Are you speaking their love language? Because when you speak their love language, they will feel loved. But you can do so many things and not speak their love language, and they will not feel loved. And that struck me. That struck me. So you kind of feel, and I think we get confused. Like, maybe if your love language is buying gifts, you like people to buy you gifts, you will start buying other people gifts. But that's not their love language. And you may be communicating. It's literally like you're communicating French and they understand English. And you gotta know the other person's love language and use it. Otherwise, they will not feel love. Yeah. Jason 14. I'm so pretty. Thank you, love. Thank you. Yeah, I guess that is it for today. We are talking about self-love. If there is anything that, for me, I know that will heal you from trauma, is to love yourself. And we are going to talk about what loving yourself entails. Okay? One of the things that we've been talking about is loving yourself entails creating boundaries. If there is one thing that I can tell you about self-love and healing from trauma, is you have to create boundaries. Because some of the times we get traumatized is people did not respect our boundaries. Maybe because we were too young to enforce those boundaries and they were disrespectful people. It's life, these things happen. But as we get older, if we want to regain our mental holding and our mental stability, guess what has to come up? Boundaries. We gotta enforce those boundaries. We gotta decide what our boundaries are, and then we are going to decide how we are going to enforce them, and then we are going to take actions. For example, let's say somebody was molested when they were young, right? That is somebody who was touched by the wrong person, and somebody violated their boundaries because they were not able to stop them. But when you get older, you can decide, I am going to protect my personal space. When people come back close, I'm going to tell them, hey, this is my personal space. Don't come any closer. When somebody touches you, you're like, please don't touch me, right? Now, when you start creating those boundaries and I can stop people from coming too close, I can stop people from touching me, I can protect my personal space, Now you start feeling safe. And as you know, safety is, I always say, feeling calm and feeling safe is where you want to be, because that's how the nervous system heals, when it starts feeling safe and calm. Remember, good mental health begins with homeostasis, a sense of steadiness, groundedness, calm, and stability. We do that with boundaries. So boundaries, and you will hear a lot of people in mental health, they will tell you, one of the things that we gotta do when we are healing, we gotta put on those boundaries, you know, and give ourselves a sense of safety. Now, when we have decided and given ourselves a sense of safety, now we can start maneuver life joyfully, because we know like no harm is coming to us. We have removed ourselves from chaotic environments, from bad negative people. We've created boundaries with the people that are in our life, whether it's financial, relationship, material, health, whatever. We have created boundaries, and boundaries can be simple. Let's say you're on a new diet and you have friends come over to your house and you're like, hey, I don't take alcohol, I don't take milk, I don't do this and that, blah blah blah, right? You understand those boundaries and you communicate them, and people know them, and so you don't feel any more pressure. You feel safe, you feel fine, people get you, they love you for who you are. You're not faking it, because they understand your boundaries, right? So that is it. So I'm going to end the live stream today. What I'm going to say is I'm going to wish you guys the blessing. May you be happy and live with a joyful heart. May you be healthy and live with a body that gives you energy. And may you be safe and protected from all sorts of inner and outer harm. And may you live with the ease that comes with well-being. I love you. God loves you. And healing is possible. Subscribe to this channel. Let's heal together. Let's create a new life together. And I love you. We were talking about love, Gabrielle. Self-love is always the topic here, and good mental health is always the topic. So see you tomorrow. Love you. Take care.